Welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. I'm your host, Josh Grivy, joined as always by my friend, co-host, and guy with a lot of spiders going up his skirt.
Ugh, Alex Dandino.
That was the sound of pleasure. Pleasure. All right, guys, we hope you are excited. We're hoping that everything's still cool. I think this drops election week or after, so everyone's probably in their feels, right? Half
So
the
in that
people are
case,
probably pissed.
Welcome to the apocalypse.
Yeah. Who knows if there's still a country? Who knows what's on fire? You know what's not on fire? This institution of America, the podcast.
You know what's not on fire? The ratings.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone's on okay. And we're just here to talk about a great movie, Stoker. We're here to talk about Stoker today as part of our we don't want to be at Thanksgiving dinner with that relative. We don't want to do it. This family, I think, all qualifies. I don't want to be around any of these people.
I don't want to be around any of them.
Brief introduction, guys. We got a little business. Please go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod to support the show. We have tons of awesome content over there. We have a great community. We'd love to have you there. We're on all the socials, including TikTok, Instagram Reels, all that stuff, YouTube Shorts. Share all that. That's a great way to get people into the show. Let them know what we're doing. The email, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. The YouTube I just mentioned, Film Alchemist. Make sure to go subscribe to that, please. While you're on YouTube, check out Looper. You can see me doing some video stand-up work there. That has been really fun. Our top 5 best horror movies of the year so far list has been really fun. A lot of people have fun opinions about that. Go check that out. Make sure you go to misfitparade.net, maybe.com by the time you hear this. Subscribe to our newsletter over there. We have a bunch of fun short films coming out. We've started filming our first feature, Mr. Cream Jeans Hidey Hole. So you can follow along as we go on that journey. Also, there could be some more Misfit Parade stuff in the work. So go over there, find that, 5-star ratings and reviews, text your friends, all the stuff that helps podcast out. All right. Speaking of helping people out, sometimes your brother's shacking up with a lady. He has an ungrateful teenage daughter, and he dies in a fiery car crash. And you've got to step in as the new man of the family and right the ship. Is not exactly what Stoker's about, but kind of.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
So this is a Park Chan-wook movie that I fucking love. Shockingly written by Wentworth Miller, which I absolutely forgot. This movie has saddest, richest white girl energy, right? Like every girl who's just grown up so rich, her hands have never known a moment of work. She's never laid knots on the most pillowy mattress, right? Has never not had the most luxurious flowing dresses upon her body, but still finds a way to be sad and miserable about everything. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They probably talk a lot about like Jane Austen and shit. That energy, right? Though that genre of human, that's what this movie feels like to me. I remember seeing this in theater and it was like, this is my favorite movie of the year. It's a thriller. It's got style. It's fun. I fucking love this movie. And everyone who listens to this show knows that I fucking worship at the altar of my favorite actress, Nicole Kidman. And a really weird performance for her. So Alex,
from the
opening
AMC
thoughts on Stoker. Yeah, the AMC lady had a career before she found what she was meant to do. It was something about she made movies and got pleasured by a very petite man. I can't remember exactly.
Didn't tell you.
So this stool to get up to her. I can't remember who that was.
So this movie starring Wasikowska, Matthew Goode, and the AMC lady is pretty good.
That is so fucking. We'll let a lot slide on the show. That was the third one. Put that back in your holster, sir.
Anyways, this movie starring the AMC lady was really good.
Mother.
Yeah. It's too easy.
I'm gonna stab your fist with a pencil.
No, I loved this movie when it came out. Like I think you had told me to see it, and then it came out on streaming. We watched it, and I was like, that fucking ruled. I've never. I don't know if you noticed this. This is the first. Like this is like the headline for me, and when I watched this movie, really, is like American-made movies. Like Park Chan-wook is such an amazing director, and this is
Oh
his
my God,
English
dude.
first English language movie. Why can't all Korean directors come over here and direct English language movies? Because honestly, like that's that style that I want in these kinds of movies.
Yeah,
Like,
you want to bring them over. It's like we need you. You guys are so
like there
good.
should there should be this like when there's a psychological thriller at like a production company and they're like in development, they're like, oh, also there's a rule here. I'm like, what's that? Like, only Korean filmmakers are allowed to
Yeah,
make this because like
Korean directors are the jam. Well,
directors
like
are the only
between
ones who are allowed
this
to
and
make this.
Handmaid Tale or The Handmaiden, like he has some fucking he has
Yeah.
so many great movies. We could do an entire show just about his great movies. Love that man. Love, love, love. I think the funny thing is like I think there is something about this movie that really works for it. Is it all just has this kind of austere unreality to it. Like none of these people have jobs. There's just this kind of family fortune that's brought up. Um, no one talks to each other in simple terms, right? It's all kind of dancing around, and then occasionally Nicole Kidman will tell her daughter she hates her. Um, Charlie shows up out of nowhere. He's never existed in their life. It's almost like he's an imaginary figure for both of these women. Um, Laws don't matter, crimes don't ever get fucking accounted for. There's always spider on people's fucking face, tits, and or legs, like leg meat. There's just a lot of, but I think there is something to that, right? And when you set thrillers in this very kind of rich white cloisters, there's something about that to the average people who watch it. That world feels unreal to us. We do not know that world, right? This is what we imagine is that they just have these little Alice in Wonderland like playthings. And I think maybe Park Chan-wook comes over and he does this and he adds that one extra layer of detachment. It gives it this kind of dollhouse feel
Yeah.
that really sets a tone for the whole movie. So something I noticed this time that I wanted to ask you about. There is one of the first dinner scenes, right? So Charlie cooks and they're having dinner. I have never seen more bizarre coverage shot in a movie in my life. It is three people at a table, and everyone who's seen a movie, you know how you shoot this, right? You shoot the wide from the foot of the table, so you see all three. Then you do over the shoulders, close ups on everyone, right? And then you get some B roll of plates, whatever. That's how you shoot coverage, and it's usually pretty fucking boring. The camera never stops whipping around in ways that feel unmotivated, but I think it's to give us this fucking sense of unease. Like you always feel like you're at one of those things at like King's Island where they put you in the ball attached to rubber bands and shoot you in the sky and you just
Yeah.
kind of bounce a couple times. What did you make of this in the movie?
I think I think it's hilarious that you actually bring this up because this was actually a note I wrote down. Other than my usual like openers for these things, like a lot of whites. Like that was like the first note. That was like the first note I wrote in this movie.
If Lord of the Flies taught us anything, just don't let them pool up like that. You got to dilute.
Yeah.
That's
So
why we
like
don't swim in bleach. You got to
that
dilute.
was like probably that was literally the first thing I wrote was just a lot of whites in this movie. But the second thing I wrote was, is it just I literally wrote like, is it just me or is this or like is the camera moving constantly during this dinner scene and making it
Yeah.
actually worth watching? Like
The coverage is
it
insane.
was
And again,
so
I
fascinating.
kept going back and kind of rewatching it. And it never feels like the camera lands where I wanted it to or where I expected. And I think that's the thing is it's three people all putting on mask for the others.
Yeah.
And I think something about the camera just lets you know, because this is the thing we come to a lot in this movie, is I had forgotten how much this movie falls in that unreliable narrator kind of a story. And I think this camera sets us up for that really fast. And then as we move through the movie, there's a lot of these kind of bizarre coverage choices. If you've seen something shot the same way 1,000 times, right? Even if you're not breaking a movie down at like a film technique level, you are
Mhm.
trained in your eye to how something's supposed to be. I think this is one of those that those viewers always feel askew. There's always something off. They can't put their foot on it. So when we get to moments like India has this thing she does multiple times in the movie, right? She's playing piano with Uncle Charlie very uncomfortably, right? Like It's very masturbatory piano playing. He's leaning in
Super.
and breathing on her. She's the spider crawls into her dress, and then she
Yeah.
looks over and he's not there. Right after the climax, as it were, right? And we are asking ourselves, was he ever there, right? When Han Solo tries to molest her in the park,
Right.
right? We see Uncle Charlie shows up, throws him on the ground, hog ties him with the belt, and then she kicks him a bunch. Well, then she's in the shower fucking getting after it. She's had her 18th birthday, so we as an audience are told that's okay now. In a very uncomfortable scene. She's getting
Yeah.
after it in the shower, and she sees that Han Solo was actually up on her, and that Uncle Charlie bent his ass backwards and broke his neck. And that's when she bust. It's time with the neck crack. It's an incredible scene.
Right. Right.
Yeah, just bust, snap, crack, bust, right?
Super, super weird.
Classic. It's an amazing scene. We had to ask ourselves which one was real. Did Uncle Charlie actually play piano with her? We see that later that they play piano together. Where does the reality start and end with India, who, as the movie goes on, we realize is living this split life? She is Charlie, but was raised by her father. She's walking between worlds too. What do you make of this kind of blurring of fantasy and fiction?
I'm not sure I necessarily saw it as that, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like a lot of the times I see things like, I think in this movie that, like, to me, nothing felt not real, I guess. Like, I mean, I'm not sure I necessarily saw a blurring of fantasy and reality within the scope of the movie. Like, to me, I guess if there was a little of fantasy to it, it's that moment particularly. Like, again, like that fantasize, like, it's more just like, it's not even fantasize, like reliving this, not trauma, but just like reliving that moment herself. Like, I think that because like for it to, this movie is so weird. And I mean, again, this goes back to the dinner scene. Like, this movie is so weird in the way it's executed, in the way it is, like,
Mhm.
for anything to be, I think unreliability is okay. For anything to be like false, though, would be so wrong in the execution of the movie, you know?
Well, here's the tricky part, right? Because they show us what to me is false first, which is
Okay,
Uncle Charlie just throws the kid off and she kicks him a bunch. The
sure.
next thing we see is a smash cut to the shower, right? And then she's smash cutting herself, but she's covered in like fucking twigs and mud. Then we see that Uncle Charlie snapped the neck. They took the body, buried the body in their fucking luscious state with the fucking world's strongest man Atlas stones. And then she comes in, right? That to me is the scene that has to be real because he doesn't come home. She is
Right.
covered in mud. So why show us the softer, quainter version first? Because that inherently is not true. Because by the time he throws him and she kicks her, that is not where we start the next scene where we see his demise, which is he is on top of her. So why insert that first part, right? It feels like that's one of those, oh, it's okay.
Hmm.
Maybe we like Charlie for a second. To me, it's the effect of Charlie and Indy are always doing this. Here's my gentler, softer face, and then they are unleashed eventually. So why show us something that is not real first and then show us that they murdered and buried this kid together? Which that is the true part.
Okay. Actually, okay. Because I thought this relates to how the movie ends, to be honest with you. But like, because
Okay.
I think the endings, we'll get to that. But for me, this moment is really about showing that Charlie and India are actually quite similar.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Well,
that
I think
that's
a lot of
probably,
that, yeah. It's
I
very
think
like
that's
they
probably
want
like,
to bang each other, but really it's like maybe
yeah.
they just want to like jerk each other,
And also, I think,
jerk themselves off.
I also think like it comes at such a critical moment in the movie itself that actually that is probably like, it's just that compounding interest thing you do with characters like that. So like you like sprinkle a little bit, like we start this movie, we start the movie with India like giving this sort of like soliloquy about her heightened senses and that kind of thing. And like a lot of these, also the sound design in this movie is fucking incredible. Like,
Incredible.
did you think you would ever feel creepy about somebody like cracking an egg? Like, just not cool. But
Just her
like,
and Maggot Mommy. That's it.
I think like this compounding interest that kind of climaxes, no pun intended, in this scene, uh, is that sort of estimation of like you're like as an audience, you're trying, or as a filmmaker, you're trying to tell the audience like these two people are very similar, but there is one thing that's very different about them. And so like as things become closer and closer, that particularly like that moment and that scene work all together is about like, okay, this is that juncture where for a little while in the movie, we actually think these two people are the same people. And like she's like
Yeah.
found maybe somebody who's like just a similar spirit to her.
Because they are, by the end of the film, we realize they are the same thing, right?
Sure.
They both realize they're the same thing. Charlie, in his last moment, smiles at watching her fully embrace that they are the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, Again, I think it's the movie is just always it's kind of this beautiful. I don't know. It's like it's not like quite like a teacup effect, right? Where you're always whirling, because there are small touchstones. But even watching the mom play at, she wants to bang this guy, right? Clearly, Nicole Kidman's trying to get it, but she's always waking up groggy. She's not getting it. Old ladies are coming and saying, "Hey, don't do this." And like when he chokes that old lady in the phone booth, right? And we see the other old lady in the freezer. This
Yeah.
feels like it's going to be a very standard fare,
I agree.
rich white guy coming to get other rich white guys stuff, right? I think scenes like the lying to us, the coverage that never settles, right? Again, I know the spider must mean something to someone. To me, you're like, I could probably make up some fucking jerk off story about what I think it is. I think it's kind of that just like sensation of when the truth is tickling a little bit through, right?
Oh, see,
At best.
I thought of it more as like I didn't see it as necessarily a truth. I thought of it more as like that sensation you get when you know what, actually no. I guess that's exactly what it would be. It's just not how I would describe it. Yeah. Like
Boom.
it's this, like that thing where like, oh, when the hair stands up on the back of your neck, that's them or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it had, but it's that feeling of there's some I can't it's again, it's an indescribable thing really. Like when there's something that clicks, it does almost feel like it feels like something sort of like a nerve ending or a synapse fires, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. When your
Yeah, it's the same thing.
truest
Yeah.
self and emotions are expressed, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
so I
totally.
think that when we're getting to this is going to be a really paint by numbers kind of lifetime setup. There's
Yeah,
always something a little bizarre. There's always a lie. There's always a camera move that you're like, wait, what? Like it should pull us out of the movie more, but this one kind of works differently where it feels like it's sinking us in a morass that we can't fucking escape, right? And
right.
so I think the spider's kind of a touchstone to like that's a moment, right? Again, I think it's a little heavy-handed. Like I think it's not my favorite technique. Also it's one of those like India being revealed to be a burgeoning serial killer is like the least shocking reveal ever. Like the
Yeah,
moment she's on screen, you're like, nope, not good.
yeah.
Besides
Well,
just
it's like,
I'm a rich white girl who's like crying the whole movie. Like this is not good, right?
well,
Here's
it's like,
another thing I want to hone in on.
yeah,
I think a lot of this can be looked at through the lens of whatever the fuck Nicole Kidman's doing in this movie. Now that her performance is not good,
no, it's
this
just,
feels like a vast underutilization of Nicole Kidman.
yeah. Well, what's weird
And
is
this is the
like,
thing: what is going on with this woman? Like, what are we supposed to?
yeah, well,
Here's
like
the real
Nicole
question:
Kidman.
does she know the whole time who Charlie is and doesn't give a shit?
No, I don't think at
Because at
all.
the
Like,
end,
I
she
think,
turns on him icy cold and does that. There are things you turn a blind eye to because, wink, wink, I wanted to get it smushed. I
sure, I,
news. And it's like that to me was the moment you're like, did she know like pretty much this whole fucking time?
I mean,
Again, her
no.
character makes no fucking sense. There is no real worldness about that woman to me.
Well, I think Nicole Kidman's in another movie. Oh, actually, no. Nicole Kidman is in
Yeah.
the American version of this movie. Like, and I say that with like all love and honor, but like Nicole Kidman is doing like what an American director would have done with this script, whereas like Park Chan-wook and Mia
Yeah,
Wasikowska,
she's dick crazed and just is like,
yeah,
see, because that's
and
the
Matthew Goode,
character. The
like
character
they're
is doing
doing.
nothing.
But see, this is the other thing though. Like Matthew Goode and Mia Wasikowska are doing Park Chan-wook's movie Stoker. Nicole Kidman is doing Nicole Kidman in Stoker. And this is really like a lot of it is over the top and verbose. Like, and I still, but I think what's interesting, and this is like the crazy thing. Any other actress, and this is why Nicole Kidman, this is why we did a whole month about Nicole Kidman. She's fucking great. Any other actress
Literally the best.
who would be doing this, we would be watching this like, Jesus Christ, get her off the screen. She's just like chewing the fucking scenery. Like, this is terrible. But because of how she does it and because of her like diametric opposition to the rest of the actors in the movie and like how understated everyone else is performing, her performance is so like is so manic that it almost it like the unreality of it supersedes the reality of the movie and you just automatically accept like you and I are sitting there watching it for this sort of analytics, but when you're watching it as just a passive observer, you're basically just watching. You're like, oh, this makes total sense. Like it's a weird thing she's doing that somehow works
Yeah. Well,
because it
again,
should not
maybe
work.
I'm wrong. Maybe this isn't a underutilization of her. Maybe you need her to make this character lively enough. Because again, she's an underloved, kept woman, right?
Yeah,
She's like, oh, the benefit of a big education is you get to get trapped in this house and no French.
right.
You're like, oh, born baby. And you're like, oh, my husband used to love me. Now I just want to get fucking rubbed down by his brother. And it's like, hey, man, you're a rich widow now. You can get rubbed down by anyone. The world is, there are men who live their whole lives to just be fuck machines to find you. So there is she isn't interested in the life she has.
Right.
She
Well,
has to, we have to believably buy that she wants Charlie who's lying. So it's
right.
it's almost like she's the one character who's putting on a character but isn't comfortable doing it like the other two.
I
And then
see
I
what you're
think the
saying.
one true moment is we see Nicole Kidman fucking snap as she sees them in the other room.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
India
yeah.
comes in and she's like, we have kids so we can get a second chance and it'll be good for them. She's like, but I can't fucking wait to watch life tear
Which, by
you
the way,
apart.
great monologue. I fucking loved that. I thought it was awesome.
Unbelievable from the greatest
But I
actress ever.
think, but
But that's
see,
what I'm
but
saying. That's her
that's
one moment of
the
truth where she
realness,
feels like
right?
an actual human. And
What I
that's when she
loved,
says, there are things I turned a blind eye to. To me, that means she knew the whole time. And that's why it's such a weird, off kilter performance that feels
well,
like it's like Nicolas Cage and Longlegs.
seeing again, this is like this other thing about this is like the other thing about this like overstatement for like 80% of the movie. And sort of the burying of tension or burying of intention was because I thought the idea was that she didn't know anything about the brother and like or barely knew the brother or those
That's what
kinds
they
of things.
say. Yeah.
Right. So my thought is there are things you turn a blind eye to. It's like, okay, so does that mean Richard knew, told her, and she was like, oh, maybe he's better, essentially? Like, did she do that thing you do? Because when she brings up the thing, when she does her monologue about like having children and getting a do-over, like to me, a lot of it has to do with the fact, oh, I let this wolf in the house. Because like,
Well, to me, she's kind of the only real problem I have with the movie on some viewings is because
well, no,
if she knows, then it's like,
right.
did she let him in because now she'll have some power over him because she knows
Well,
his
well,
secret?
that's what I'm saying.
He
Like,
doesn't care about her daughter.
she's let the wolf in the house. So like, okay, like the
But
call's
in that
coming from
scenario,
inside the
she thinks
house now.
she's the wolf, so she doesn't really give a shit.
Right. But that's the problem is like people who often do that, like again, people who think they're in control of this situation. And I think that's why her performance is so weird and off kilter a lot of the time because like you have the other two Hannibal lecturing like the entire fucking movie.
Yeah.
So Okay, cool. The opposite and like total reaction to that is to be this Lifetime movie mom
Yeah.
until the very end when
Yeah.
like it actually is like, oh, the reason you're doing that is because you think like she's put it performance. Like I think this is like a cool, interesting thing about the way Nicole Kidman plays this character is like she's putting on this performance of like the concerned mother, sister-in-law, like, you know, state like person who owns a house. These things like she overdoes it a lot. So finally when she gets that moment and gives that speech, you're just like, "Oh, this is the real person we've been waiting for like the
Right, because
entire
not
fucking
one
movie."
thing she does in the movie makes any fucking
Yeah.
sense. Like
No, she's
literally,
fucking
her
bonkers.
husband's aunt shows up and is like, "Hey man, maybe you shouldn't be shacking up with your husband's brother. Maybe you should talk to me. I got something to tell you about Charlie." And she's
Yeah.
like, "How dare you?" And again, it's this kind of cloisteredness of like the rich privilege, right? That they can just do that, bang their dead brother's brother like a month after he fucking died and it doesn't matter. Like there is a detachment from reality inherently, or at least reality we would recognize. But nothing she does in this movie makes any fucking sense unless you look at she's trying to this is the person she was before the accident. She had to play this rich kept woman. And then
Right.
little moments of truth creep through and it's always because she fucking hates India because India came and took her husband's affection away. Now India's
Hmm.
taking Charlie's affection away. Like there's a scene where she's brushing her hair when India just nutted in the shower and in post nut clarity, she's like, I'm going to go try to be kind to my mother and brush her hair. And she grabs her hand and she's like, I'm going to the hairdresser tomorrow. I never brushed your hair. Right. And she's like a little craven. And you're like, that's her
Yeah.
hatred for India is the only realness in the movie.
Yeah.
It's such a, again, I think when I look at it, the only way I can make it work in my brain is that this is the remnant of the character she's been playing for a while. And maybe now that Charlie steps in, she's just trying to put that back on, but she's too
That could be
drunk
it.
and broken to be able to do it well. Because I will
I
say, I know a
mean,
lot of people love her in this movie. I think this is the one part that you're like, one of these things is feels like it's pulling against the others.
I'm kind of, but again, like because the other two are just so like Hannibal Lecter the entire time,
Yeah.
like I'm okay with the
And that's what I'm saying.
dichotomy.
It feels
Like,
like we need like a real normal grieving woman at the center to give this some emotional like right we need there's a reason Hannibal Lecter's in the movie for 13 minutes and we follow Clarice around,
yeah,
right? And this movie I feel like could have really used some of that cuz India again is our POV and it's interesting and unreliable.
well, I think that's
There is
also a
not
sign
one
of
of
the
us that doesn't put it together really fast that India is going to be up to no good by the end of the movie.
right. Well, I think that's also again, well, that's also goes into movie like filmmaking history. Like, you know, even in the '90s, we weren't that good at understanding what serial killers were, and now everybody knows everything about serial killers ever that ever existed. So like our expectations are different than they would have been like when Hannibal Lecter was like a thing in a movie.
Yeah.
Now it's like everybody's a fucking Hannibal Lecter. Like, yeah, I get it. I understand yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
like
can
here's
say
an example,
Hannibal
right?
Lecter and everyone knows what I'm
Who
talking about.
plays the dad who died? What's his name?
Dermot Mulroney?
Dermot Mulroney. Thank you. So
Yeah.
when he pops in for that very brief thing, there's that thing where Charlie or it's weird. Charlie at one point is like, you have the advantage because you're on lower footing. And I was like, have you fucking never seen Star Wars? You don't know how this works? High ground is the power, brother. I
Yeah, come
guess you
on,
didn't
dude.
see it. You were in an institution. Never mind. But he's kind of
No, they
coming up
showed
the
it on
stairs and he's
Wednesdays.
telling her where he got daddy's driving glass. Like just even that sentence, those were daddy's driving glasses. He kept them in I was like, what a cunt, rich cunt. I was just getting mad. And he's like, let me tell you the story about daddy and me. That scene is such a fucking breath of life, right? As we're getting pulled into this kind of dollhouse nightmare. That scene, it feels like the audience can gasp and get some fucking footing. That scene
Sure.
even feels shot very different to me, those segments. The fictional kind of, cummy lens, like, oh, it's the 70s, right? Life was simpler back then. It was more majestic. Um, even that was very valuable to me when you watch Charlie be unhappy that they had another brother and he fucking buries him in the sand and does a sand angel. That scene is fucking wild. When Charlie's in the room kind of panicking, we see the mask slip. And then he does his like Charlie thing and he comes out and Dylan Muldermy or whatever his name is, he's like, I know it's not Muldermy. I messed that up. But
No, but
Muldermott.
that's good.
And he's like,
Dylan
hey,
Muldermy.
why am I not coming home with you? He's like, Charlie, I can't have you around India, dude. I've taken care of everything. Of course I love you. I have to love you a little less. I got a family, right? Like, totally fucking reasonable for a child murderer who clearly seems not well still. And then Charlie just fucking throws up and brains his ass. And he's like, I got to love you a little less. Lights him on fire, whatever we hear at the start of the movie. That scene is such a welcome fucking gulp of air. Because for one fucking moment, we know what is real. And then we come back to the stairs and it's the two of them Hannibal lecturing and he gives her the high heels, which make no fucking sense to me. Like why that, like gator skin high heels, like that's important to you? Okay, I don't know why that's the kink.
Oh, I think it's very.
And
Oh,
then
that's
Nicole
straight.
Kidman's like, oh
I
no,
think it's
she
total
catches
sense.
him. And then he's like, hey man, that's why I'm here. You 18. I'm not here to grieve. I'm here
Oh,
to
that's why
fucking rip.
Well, that's why she got the. That's why she got the stilettos because it's. I mean, it can be. It's a grooming thing.
Now
Like,
she
and
can
it's
be a
like,
whore. Yeah, like what?
now she's a woman. Now she can be his woman. Like it's a grooming. It's a grooming.
What if he
Thing. It's
did
creepy.
EQ's the music? I feel like a woman. And Nicole Kidman wakes up in a drunken stupor. She's like, no! She
It's
runs
happening
out.
all over again.
Yeah. I feel like a woman, kind of, for like 2 scenes of the movie. Ah! But yeah, we go immediately back to this, like, it's like you're at almost like a coffee shop, one woman show at like a really prestigious Ivy League, joint. But then it's just like 3 people doing that show at the same time. It feels like one of those, like, yeah, like smash poetry, like we'll all talk at the same time but we'll say different things and you'll get it. And you're like, yeah, a lot of the times you're right. And that's pretty cool. That is tough to do for a whole run length unless we have those moments. Like that Dylan Muldermott moment, that to me is like when the movie like solidifies, it hardens, it's awesome. Now we can do the rest of the movie because they've given us just enough reality to know where we are. Walk me through. We kind of glossed over Matthew Goode. He is phenomenal in this movie. He's very good. And I think these one-note serial killer performances are really harder than people give them credit for.
I think that Matthew Goode, and this is like I think
it's
Matthew
not one
Goode's
note. I said one note. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
I think Matthew Goode is a criminally underrated actor. Like
He is
has been
wonderful in this.
so many things as just like the side guy. And I don't know, again, like, it's not to say that he can't carry a lead or anything like that, but he is so fucking good in everything. And I mean, here particularly, his performance is so like great and so again like really creepy. Like the I'm definitely a diddler thing is off the charts.
Well, he's
Like, it's
not a
just
diddler.
unbelievable.
He's waiting for 18 like a respectable citizen. I will say, I don't know what's worse.
I
No,
think
actually,
that
wait a
makes
sec. I lied. It's diddling. Diddling
yeah
is worse.
that makes it yeah.
Okay.
Diddling's
I was
worse.
trying to make a point and I started immediately wrong. Your Honor, I
Yeah.
apologize. I fall in the mercy of the court. What I'm saying is, I don't think it's less creepy to be there on the 18th birthday
So I'm saying like
with
this
your
is
dick
grooming.
in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me is still bad.
It just makes you like a legal groomer. Like it's horrible. Like no, like that's still bad.
Well,
Like,
it's kind of one of those, like, you show up like a fucking junkyard dog who just got unclipped and you're like, Jesus, I didn't think I was going to make it. And it's like, whoa, whoa, come on, Char. It's legal, but it's not great.
yeah.
You know
Sorry,
what I mean?
showing up to your dead brother's funeral like a dog with a bone is not cool.
Yeah.
Just gonna say that now.
And then you're just like 2-for-1 special, whammy. And it's like, come on.
Good God, it's like
And then the
Sizzler half
mom's like,
price.
yes. And the daughter's like, "Ugh."
Mm.
it's so fucking bizarre. Okay, so walk me through this
it's so
ending. He's fucking great. I love when real Charlie starts to come through. The cops are kind of on him. They're gonna go to New York. Why after the speech, I can't wait for life to tear you apart, blah, blah, blah. Why, oh, why, oh, why does she forsake and shoot Uncle Charlie? There's kind of that great scene. Like it starts off like he's
Well,
grabbing Nicole and then he's got her and he's like, India, come look. Like he wants to
yeah.
share this thing with her, right? She looks at him through the rifle,
He
kills him.
also
He smiles because he's like, ah, there she is.
he's also getting like really like aggressive. Like, come look, hurry! It's like, dude,
Well, again,
come on.
that's another one of the only moments of real Charlie
Yeah,
because he's like, someone else can share this
I
dark
think
burden with me. Why does she save her mom? She clearly fucking hates. Or at least they've not had a good relationship. I don't
I
think she
mean,
ever liked
for
Charlie.
me, the like it's a really simple answer to me. And I think this is the thing that's interesting about the movie is like you can assign a lot of different emo- emotional states to that. I think the biggest thing is just straight up revenge. Like you killed my dad who I loved, you're done.
That's true. I don't mind that. Yeah. Because they did the whole like her dad taught her to hunt, right? And it's like sometimes you got to do the bad thing to prevent the really bad thing, right? And you're like, okay, get that. That was a Dexter thing too, right? That's like a very popular thing now in serial killer stories is like the why don't you train it, hone it? Um, it was kind of bizarre though, because she shoots him and then just like walks out on her mom, like seemingly like she's gonna leave the state, like she doesn't care. She leaves all the evidence. Like she's like, Mom will clean the evidence up. Mom seems like she's got a good handle on everything. She almost got murdered. Like this will go well. And she goes out and gets the cop, right? She's gonna kill the cop, right? It's kind of a cool, like little last here she is
Nice little
for him. Like,
tag. Yeah.
I went fast enough to get your attention. Yeah. And fucking shanks him with garden shears, shoots him a couple times, and is gonna drive away to go be, that's because they go back to that mirror of the star, right? She's got the two big belt, right? That's like Uncle Charlie and her dad. She's got the giant flowing shirt. Like they're all clothes from the three people that helped form her, right? Whatever. It's fine. It's good. I thought that ending of her choosing, maybe you're right. Maybe it is just like a this is for dad.
I think it's
And
really
maybe there's
simple.
something like when you're a person like her and Charlie, that's the difference is that Charlie pinned everything on if he had someone else. He wrote all these letters about being a world traveler. It was kind of like the wolf from Twilight. Like he imprinted on her young in his mind. Like, is a baby, and that ain't good. And the
Again,
dad's just reading
another
this like Jesus age. Um,
another famous sexual predator.
Another, yeah, literally a sexual apex predator. Unbelievable. Um, but the dad taught her to like see everything, see the patterns in the tree and the hunt and all that, and just breathe. I think she realized that there is an inherent isolation through that, that it's always just you looking down the barrel at your next shot, your next hunt, your next prey, whatever. And Charlie thought that he could find someone who would love him enough to fix him. And she knew that was not possible. And she knew that's not how hers would be fixed. So she just takes him off the board, right? And yeah, gets revenge for dad. That's probably right. I did think that moment, the first time I saw it, I couldn't gel with that choice as much. It feels kind of just like a we got to wrap this up. But also, she never likes Charlie. It does feel like she's
Yeah.
circling him and bringing him in, which I don't know. That's actually not true because she has multiple masturbation fantasies about him.
I
I
mean,
don't
but
know.
like
It's a
she's young.
bizarre choice at the end to me.
I don't think it's about him. I feel like it's about the power he wields, maybe. I
So
don't know.
something else I thought I don't know if this passes muster with you is that there is a sense that she just like she wants to leave her mom in misery. So she destroys Charlie as revenge for dad, takes away mom's fantasy, right? That she's been like kind of overacting the whole movie and is like, now you just live in it. Now
Yeah.
you live here by
I'd
yourself.
buy that. Yeah, I'd buy
And
that.
you're going to watch me do everything I ever wanted and be free and not kept in this cage. So I don't know. I think, again, there's just probably a lot of reasons why. It kind of feels like it came out of nowhere, but I think if you sit with it for a while, there's a lot of interesting possibility. And that's the thing with this movie. There's a lot of stuff that feels like, what? Why? Why? It's so good. The acting is so good. Even whatever Nicole Kidman's doing is captivating at all times. Um, it's sharp. It's fucking got style for days. It's great. I fucking loved the ride of this movie. It's just kind of this unique little bizarre gem to me.
I mean, I think it's yeah, it's perfectly paced. And again, like
Yeah.
the Korean filmmaking of an American movie is I want it all the time for psychological thrillers. Like it's
Again, well, there's
nearly
just one
perfect
extra layer
aesthetics.
removed that adds to the oddity of the movie,
Yeah,
which is already kind of dealing with the odd dollhouse nature of the rich white family, right? And that works.
I
Those
agree.
fucking big ass neighborhoods and gates that keep us all out, and we're like, what goes on back there? This,
That
this is it. This is it. Just a lot of fucking spiders on genitals, dude. Is that what you want? Maybe. I don't know. Anywho, that's it for Stoker. That's it for Stoker. I'm glad they did the stroker joke because everyone was going to do it. They got ahead of it. They just added
yeah,
high
me
school
too.
kids to do the stroker joke. Great movie. We have more fun movies for you this hopefully it's a Thanksgiving. I don't know. Again, everyone could be really wound up right now. So we're just hoping we're throwing these pods into a happy post-election world, hopefully not a post-America world, and everything's cool, man. We love you guys. Take care. We'll be back. We've got 2 more movies this month. If you go over to patreon.com, or if you are a patron who's hearing this, make sure you submit your stocking stuffer selections. December, we are drawing out of the stocking to curate our entire month of December as a thank you to those of you who support the show. So make sure you go over there and do that. We appreciate you. Again, we're on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, share all that stuff. Text message a friend about the show. Leave 5-star ratings and review. Go subscribe to the YouTube. Go subscribe to Looper, so that you can see the video work I'm doing there. Go find Misfit Parade on all the socials, or misfitparade.net, maybe .com by the time you hear this, to follow our movie making. That's it. We'll see you